When was the last time you checked your blood pressure and asked yourself, was that really my blood pressure? Or was that just my blood pressure in that exact chaotic moment? I mean, were you rushing in from the parking lot, climbing stairs, holding your phone, thinking about 17 things, maybe needing to use the bathroom, maybe already stressed before the cuff even tightened around your arm? Um, because if that's the case, that number may be telling you something important, but it may not be telling you the whole story. And if you've ever seen a high reading and felt your stomach drop, I want you to stay with me, because what you do in the next few minutes matters a lot more than most people realize. I had a man tell me once that he checked his blood pressure at a pharmacy machine, saw a scary number, and immediately felt like something terrible was about to happen. His heart started pounding, his breathing got shallow, he checked it again right away, and of course the second reading was high too. Now he's panicking, which pushes it higher, which scares him more, and suddenly the number is running the show. Maybe you've done that. Maybe you've seen a number and decided right then and there that your body was failing you. But blood pressure is not a verdict. It's a measurement. And measurements can be affected by stress, posture, timing, technique, your nervous system, and yes, by what you were doing 5 minutes before that cuff ever inflated. If we haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Andrea Patrick, and I've spent over 20 years helping people understand what high blood pressure is really doing inside their bodies. And unfortunately, by the time many people take it seriously, the damage has already been building quietly in the background. The heart has been straining, the blood vessels have been stiffening, the kidneys have been working overtime, the brain has been taking hits it did not need to take. And that is why this video matters. Because today, I'm going to show you how to bring your blood pressure down within minutes, for free, using simple things your body already responds to. No gimmicks, no expensive supplements, no miracle gadgets, just physiology, habit, and a little bit of calm. But let me be very clear before we go any further. Lowering a blood pressure reading within minutes is not the same thing as curing hypertension. I really need you to hear that. Sometimes what you're lowering is a temporary stress surge. Sometimes what you're correcting is a falsely elevated reading because the measurement was done badly. Sometimes you're calming your nervous system enough for your blood vessels to stop squeezing so tightly. All of that matters. All of that is real. But if your blood pressure stays elevated over time, then that is a medical issue that deserves a bigger, long-term plan. So what I'm showing you today is powerful, but it is not a replacement for your doctor, and it is definitely not permission to ignore consistently high numbers. And there is one more safety point I need to say out loud. If your blood pressure is over 180 over 120 and you are having chest pain, shortness of breath, weakness, numbness, back pain, changes in vision, or trouble speaking, that is not the time to do a cute breathing exercise and hope for the best. That is emergency territory. Get help right away. Now, if you see a number that high and you feel okay, sit down, wait a minute, check again, and contact your clinician urgently. But symptoms change everything. I don't want anybody using a wellness video to delay life-saving care. Your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your aorta, these are not things to gamble with. Now, with that said, here's the good news. Blood pressure is dynamic. It is not a tattoo. It is not fixed from sunrise to sunset. Your body is constantly adjusting it based on stress hormones, hydration, posture, pain, temperature, movement, sleep, salt, stimulation, and how safe or unsafe your nervous system thinks you are in a given moment. That's why one number at one random time is only a snapshot. And that's also why what you do in the few minutes before a reading can make such a dramatic difference. In other words, if you know how to work with your physiology instead of against it, you can often bring the number down fast, sometimes because your body is calming, and sometimes because you're finally measuring it correctly. So first, let's simplify what you're looking at. Your blood pressure has two numbers. The top number, the systolic, is the pressure when the heart squeezes and pushes blood forward. The bottom number, the diastolic, is the pressure when the heart relaxes between beats. Both matter. And when either number is running high consistently, the inside of your circulation is dealing with more force than it was designed to tolerate long term. But here's what most people do not realize. The way you sit, whether you talk, whether your arm is supported, whether your bladder is full, whether your legs are crossed, even those things can push a reading up. So sometimes the first fix is not magical at all. It's just finally getting an honest number. Number 1, and this is the most underrated one of all, sit down and do absolutely nothing for 5 minutes. Not almost nothing, nothing. Don't talk, don't scroll, don't answer a text, don't rehearse your grocery list, don't argue with someone in your head. Just sit, back supported, feet on the floor, breathe normally. Let your body come out of that rushed, defensive, activated state. Because if you just walked in, climbed steps, worried about being late, or got startled by a bad reading, your sympathetic nervous system is already firing. Your heart rate is up, your blood vessels are tighter, and the number you get in that state may be more alarm than baseline. 5 quiet minutes can change that more than people think. And yes, friends, I know 5 minutes sounds trivial, but trivial things run your physiology all day long. Your body doesn't care that you think sitting still is boring. Your body responds to signals. And "we are safe now" is a very powerful signal. When you stop moving and stop stimulating your brain for a moment, the stress response begins to downshift. You may not feel fireworks, you may not suddenly feel enlightened, but your heart can slow, your vessels can relax, and your reading can come back closer to your actual resting pressure. That matters because you cannot make good decisions from bad data. If the first number scared you, don't emotionally attach to it. Pause first. Let the body settle. Then measure again like you actually want the truth. Number 2 is simple, free, and honestly kind of funny. Go empty your bladder. Yes, really. If your bladder is full, that alone can push your blood pressure higher. Most people never connect those dots. They just think, well, I can hold it for a few more minutes. But your body interprets that pressure and discomfort as something it has to compensate for. And that compensation can show up right there in the reading. So before you check your number, use the bathroom. Not after, before. I have seen people worry themselves sick over a reading that came down meaningfully after they simply stopped holding tension in the most literal way possible. Sometimes the body is not mysterious. Sometimes it is just saying, please deal with the obvious thing first. Number 3. Set up your posture like it matters, because it does. Sit in a chair, not perched on the edge of a bed or exam table. Support your back. Keep both feet flat on the floor. Uncross your legs. Rest your arm on a table so the cuff is at heart level. If your arm is hanging down, if you're talking with your hands, if your shoulder is working to hold the arm up, that can drive the reading up. If your legs are crossed, that can drive the reading up. If your back is unsupported and your core is holding you upright, that muscle activity can affect the number too. Your circulation is not happening in a vacuum. Posture changes pressure. And one of the fastest ways to lower a falsely elevated reading is to stop measuring your blood pressure in a body position that is practically asking for it to be high. Number 4, be quiet when the cuff is running. And I don't mean quiet-ish. I mean no talking. Not even casual talking. Not even, wow, I hope this one is better. And while we're at it, put the phone down. No doom scrolling, no checking news alerts, no reading work emails while the cuff inflates. People think stress only counts if something huge is happening, but your nervous system doesn't always make that distinction. Mental engagement is still engagement. If you are thinking hard, reacting emotionally, or speaking, your body can tighten right along with you. I know it sounds ridiculous that simply being silent could affect a reading, but this is exactly why so many blood pressure numbers are taken badly in real life. We treat it like a casual moment when it is actually a physiologic measurement. Number 5 is one of the fastest, free ways to bring pressure down when stress is involved. Breathe in a way that makes your exhale longer than your inhale. Because when you're anxious, most people breathe high and fast in the chest. Shallow, quick, tight. That pattern tells the body to stay on alert. But when you slow the breath down and lengthen the exhale, you tap into the part of the nervous system that says, "We can stand down now." So here's an easy place to start. Inhale gently through your nose for 4 seconds. Then exhale slowly for 6 to 8 seconds. Don't force it. Don't try to win breathing. Just smooth it out. Do that for 1 to 3 minutes and notice what happens to your shoulders, your jaw, your heartbeat, your sense of urgency. Blood vessels like calm more than you think. The thing is, your breathing is one of the only body systems that is automatic but still under voluntary control, and that makes it a powerful doorway. When you choose slower breathing, especially with a longer exhale, you're not just relaxing, you're sending a mechanical and neurologic message through the body. Heart rate tends to soften, muscle tension tends to soften, the fight or flight response can ease. Now, does this mean every single person will drop 20 points every single time? No. Medicine doesn't work like that. But many people do see a meaningful drop in both how they feel and what the monitor shows. And even when the number only falls a little, that little matters because it's often the first sign that your body is responsive and not stuck. Number 6 is a variation that works beautifully when you feel keyed up fast. The physiological sigh. This is especially helpful if you feel that awful sense of internal pressure, like your chest is tight, your thoughts are racing, and your body is revved. Here's how you do it. Take one inhale through the nose, and before you exhale, take a second short inhale on top of it. Then let out one long, slow exhale. So it sounds like inhale, tiny top-off inhale, then long exhale. Do that 3 or 4 times. That's it. It takes less than a minute. And for many people, it is one of the quickest ways to break the spiral between panic and pressure. Again, not because it's magic, but because your body listens to the way you breathe more than your anxious thoughts do. Number 7 is what I call the 5-minute reset, resonance breathing. Breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, and just keep that steady rhythm going for 5 full minutes. That gives you about 6 breaths per minute, which is slower than most people breathe when they're tense. If the first technique is your emergency brake, this one is more like gradually pulling the whole nervous system into a calmer gear. And if you want a routine to use before checking your blood pressure at home, this is one of my favorites. Sit correctly, do your 5 quiet minutes, then try this breathing pattern. After that, take your readings 1 minute apart. A lot of people are shocked by the difference, not because they fixed their entire health in 5 minutes, but because they stopped measuring themselves in a physiologic storm. Number 8, release the places where you store tension. Because some of you are trying to lower your blood pressure while your jaw is clenched, your shoulders are halfway to your ears, your hands are balled up, and your abdomen is hard as a rock. The body notices that. You may not even realize you're doing it because you've been doing it for years. So before you take a reading, do this. Shrug your shoulders up high, hold for a few seconds, then let them drop slowly. Unclench your jaw, separate your teeth, soften your forehead, open your hands, let your belly be easy. Even progressive muscle relaxation, tensing and releasing one body area at a time, can help some people settle quickly. Your blood pressure is not happening separate from your muscles. If your whole body is bracing, your circulation feels that. Number 9. If you woke up dry, rushed, or you've barely had any water, drink some water before you go straight for caffeine. Mild dehydration can make the body feel stressed and can contribute to feeling off, headachy, tight, or just not quite right. Now, if you have heart failure, kidney disease, or you are on fluid restrictions, obviously talk to your clinician about what's appropriate for you. But for many people, a glass of water first thing in the morning is one of the easiest free habits to build. And here's why the morning matters so much. Blood pressure naturally rises as you wake up. That's normal. But if you add dehydration, rushing, stress, poor sleep, and coffee on an empty, dry system, you've just stacked a bunch of pressure-raising signals before the day even starts. And by the way, friends, this is a good place to pause for 1 second. If you're getting value from this and you want more practical ways to protect your heart, your brain, and your blood vessels, make sure you like this video and check that you're subscribed. I say that because people watch, they mean to subscribe, life gets busy, and then the algorithm decides not to bring them back. And that would make me sad, because this channel is here to help you act on the little things before they become big things. Okay, back to it. Because I still haven't told you one of the fastest ways to shift a stress spike reading if you're not in a medical emergency and you're physically able to move. Number 10, take a calm, easy walk. Not a punishing workout, not burpees in your kitchen, not let me destroy myself for my arteries. I mean a gentle, steady walk for 5 to 10 minutes if you're safe to do so and you're not in a crisis. Movement can help the body use up some of that stress chemistry. It can settle the mind. It can improve blood vessel function. And for some people, a short walk creates a noticeable drop afterward, especially if the high reading was tied to agitation, sitting too long, or feeling trapped in a stress loop. Now, I would not do this if your blood pressure is dangerously high or you're having symptoms. Then we do not walk it off. But for many everyday situations, moving your body a little is far better than sitting there catastrophizing. The reason that works, in part, is because your body was built for stress to be completed by movement. Think about it. Stress hormones rise, heart rate rises, muscles prepare to act. But modern life gives us all the chemistry of a threat with none of the physical resolution. So we sit in a chair with a speeding nervous system and call it a normal Tuesday. A short walk can interrupt that, and sometimes that's all you need to start changing the trajectory of the number. Not forever, not by itself, but enough to teach you something important. Your blood pressure may be highly responsive to your state. That should encourage you. Responsive is good. Responsive means you have leverage. Number 11 is to remove the trigger before you recheck. If the high number showed up right after an argument, a stressful email, a family conflict, bad news, or 10 minutes of doom scrolling, don't just sit there marinating in the same trigger and expect your body to magically calm down. Step away. Put the phone in another room. Leave the conversation. Turn off the television. Stop rehearsing the worst-case scenario. I know that sounds emotional, but it is actually physiologic. Your blood pressure doesn't only respond to salt and arteries and age, it responds to perception. If your brain thinks the threat is still active, your vessels may stay tighter. Sometimes the fastest free intervention is not something you add, it's something you stop. Number 12, and this is crucial. Do not chase a single number. Take 2 readings 1 minute apart. Sometimes even 3 if the first one was way off from what you usually see. Then write them down. What I want for you is not obsession. I want pattern recognition. Because one isolated number can scare you, flatter you, or mislead you. But repeated numbers, taken correctly, tell a story. They show you whether your mornings are the problem, whether your stress at work is showing up in your body, whether your restaurant meals hit you for 2 days, whether your sleep matters more than you realized, whether your breathing practice actually helps. Feedback changes behavior, and the more your own numbers teach you, the less you'll be dependent on random readings taken in random conditions. Which brings me to something else a lot of people need to hear. If your blood pressure is always high at the doctor's office, but better at home, that does not mean you're making it up, and it does not mean your body is broken. White coat reactions are real, nerves are real, anticipation is real, but the answer is not to avoid knowing your numbers. The answer is to know them better. This is why I love home monitoring done properly, not with a wrist gadget thrown on while you're standing in the kitchen, but with a validated upper arm cuff, correct cuff size, quiet rest, proper posture, and consistent timing. When you do that, you stop guessing. You stop handing all authority to one random office number, and you start seeing what your cardiovascular system is actually doing in your real life. And speaking of real life, if you want the most honest reading possible, don't stack the deck against yourself right before measuring. Avoid caffeine, nicotine, exercise, and alcohol in the half hour before you check it if you can. Because if you smoke, slam a coffee, rush upstairs, argue with somebody, then immediately sit down and check your blood pressure, what exactly are you expecting the number to say? You seem wonderfully rested? No, it's going to reflect that load. Now, that does not mean your body is betraying you. It means physiology is doing physiology. And if the title of this video promised you a free way to bring pressure down quickly, one of the most effective ways is simply to stop adding things that push it up right before you measure. I also want to talk about the morning, because the morning blood pressure surge is real. When you wake up, hormones rise, your circulation gears up, your body shifts from rest into action. That's normal. But some people wake up and immediately turn that normal rise into a full cardiovascular ambush. Alarm clock, jump out of bed, phone in face, bad news, coffee, no water, rushing, standing while multitasking. Then they wonder why they feel tense and why their pressure is up. So try this instead. Wake up, sit for a moment, take a few slow breaths, drink some water, use the bathroom, keep the phone away from your face, and only then start your day. That is free. It takes minutes. And for the right person, it can make a very meaningful difference. Now, some of you may be thinking, okay, but what if I do all of that and my numbers are still high, Then that is useful information, not failure. Information. If the reading stays elevated after good technique, quiet rest, breathing, and repeated measurements, then we take that seriously. Because at that point, we're less likely dealing with noise and more likely dealing with true blood pressure burden. And that is exactly the kind of signal that helps you and your clinician decide what comes next. Maybe it's home monitoring for a week. Maybe it's salt reduction. Maybe it's weight loss. Maybe it's treating sleep apnea. Maybe it's medication. There is no shame in any of that. Lowering blood pressure is not a moral contest. It is risk reduction. We're protecting your future, not grading your character. And I really want to say this because people get weirdly embarrassed about blood pressure. They act like needing help means they failed at health. No. High blood pressure is common because modern life is common. Chronic stress is common. Sleep deprivation is common. Ultra-processed food is common. Too much sodium is common. Not moving enough is common. Getting older is common. None of that means you should ignore it, but it does mean you should stop personalizing it. Your number is a data point. If the data point improves with simple things like breath, rest, hydration, posture, and walking, wonderful. Use that. If it doesn't improve enough, then wonderful. That's data too. You still win when you pay attention early enough to change direction. I had a friend once who got a high reading, panicked, and assumed the worst. When he finally sat down properly, used the restroom, rested, and slowed his breathing, the number dropped meaningfully, and he felt instantly relieved, like he had escaped something. But the important part of that story is not just that the number came down, it's that he learned two separate truths at the same time. One, his body was highly reactive to stress and poor measuring technique. And two, his baseline still needed work. And that's the sweet spot I want you to understand. A quick drop is encouraging, but it is also educational. It teaches you whether the number was partly noise, partly stress, or persistently high even when everything is done right. So if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. When you see a high blood pressure reading, don't just react to it. Work with it. Create the conditions for truth. Calm the body. Measure correctly. Repeat the reading. Respect the number without worshiping it. And if the number stays high, don't ignore it just because you feel fine. Some of the worst damage from blood pressure happens while people are walking around thinking nothing is wrong. Your goal is not to be afraid of the cuff. Your goal is to let the cuff teach you what your body needs. And sometimes what your body needs, at least in that moment, is not money, not a supplement, not a complicated hack. Sometimes it needs 5 quiet minutes and a nervous system that finally feels safe.